So the questions I want to find out about
Yeah.
is what, why, and how, and all related to the Global Workplace Report. So first of all, what is it?
So there is a very famous global happiness report that comes out every year. I think it comes out on World Happiness Day.
Yeah.
It's invented by the United Nations. It's supported by organisations like the University of Oxford. Has amazing people involved like Jan Emmanuel Deneve, and it's done such good work. At the same time, over the last 10 to 11 years, the Happiness Index have been collecting data on the work slice of happiness. And as you know, Joe, I mean, how many years have you been at the Happiness Index?
Almost a decade.
Almost a decade.
A real sentence that.
Behind the,
But who's counting?
he's been behind there for 10 years and we've got him out. But I'm not going to put you on the spot about your happiness, but it's a massive part of all of our lives, isn't it? Like, uh, I spend more time with Jackie than I do my own family. That's the reality of it. This sounds like it's turning into a Matt and Joe show, but it's a serious amount of time that you invest, isn't it, of your life into work. And as you people have heard from the experts I've had on the podcast before, it is linked to so many good, positive business outcomes, but there's not really a global picture on it. There are people that have done it before, and we haven't done it before because we've been collecting data company by company. So we get a new company, they sign up, they've got 100 employees or 10,000 employees or 100,000 employees. Their data all goes into an anonymous database, and we review that and we bring out the insights. And everyone that was at our last conference, you can go to our blog post and you can read about it. But we haven't done it on the scale that we're doing now. So that's what we're trying to do. It's going to be out in March, and I'm absolutely cracking myself, as most of us are.
Yeah.
But we do believe in what we're doing, and it just goes back to that point. Like, there is so much unknown about it, and I'd also like to point out, a bit like the TEDx that we did down in Brighton. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about going around the world telling people they should be happy. It's about understanding the subject of happiness, which we know drives performance. So it's about trying to link culture and performance. But the first thing we need to do is actually just take a reading of the world, and that's what we're trying to do. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be right the first time round. And as you know, Joe, you're a big advocate that we do this at the Happiness Index. Every time you do something first, every time you're a bit scared of it, we call it a pilot.
Yeah.
So we're not calling it year one, we're just calling it the pilot year. So if it goes absolutely terrible, we can just quietly disappear, and you can make it just disappear from our social.
50%. Yeah, I can delete it. No problem.
But I'm sure that won't happen. But we're just trying to, if you just imagine a map of the world and it's all grayed out and there's not understanding, we're just trying to light up the world and just get more data on happiness around the world.
And would you say this is something you've wanted to do for a long time and we finally have the data to do it?
I
Or is
was,
this a new concept? Or
I think it's something we've always wanted to do. Two, we haven't had parts of the technology available to do it. So without getting technical, we moved to V5, of our platform, which in an AI era, it's allowing us to crunch insight on this scale that hasn't been able to be done before. So if we'd done it before, it would have just been way more cumbersome than it is. We could have done it, but technically it would have been way harder. So technology allowed that. Secondly, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but I studied political geography at university.
I've heard. Yeah.
And I suddenly realized this the other night. Like, this is what I spent my life doing, is looking at maps of stuff that isn't happiness. So I feel partly there's probably some subconscious me personally wanting to reconnect to my to my past, but it's also coming from demand. Our customers, one of the number one things they want to do is benchmark themselves. And I always find it benchmarking a frustrating conversation because what's that cycling app that you're a cyclist?
Strava.
Strava. I find benchmarking sometimes frustrating because Joe, making him blush, if we were to have a cycle race, Joe would win, right? But if I went onto Strava and started comparing myself to Joe, it's not a healthy thing to do because Joe's been cycling for years. He's into it way more than me. And you know that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So benchmarking can be really negative thing as well. But if it's done right, it can be a way that people use data to learn from each other and improve their culture. So yes, we've always wanted to do it, but two, technically it would have been way harder. And also we've needed to grow the network. People probably get bored on LinkedIn. I'm sharing videos of where we're doing events. Every time we do one of those events, so like Romania, Turkey, Peru, Chile, all these places, we're building connections in those countries to make this possible. And that's taken over 10 years to do.
Yeah, great. So that loosely covers the why. But I
Yeah.
suppose, why are we doing it? What are the goals? What's the grand sort of vision?
Yeah. So again, I think it's, and we live in strange times, don't we? I wrote a podcast, a LinkedIn post about this the other day. I've never come back outside of COVID to a stranger September, I would say. There's a lot of brilliant people out of work at the moment, that I think are exceptional talent. There's a lot of people worried about stagflation. Is the world going to grow? Is what's happening with the economy? Issues to do with the environment. And our why is, if companies and employees can be reconnected so that work is fulfilling and in the same breath companies perform better, that's great.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, the two shouldn't be competing with each other. And Joe's designed all the covers of all the books that I've ever written. um and on the first book, Joe did this brilliant design, which actually I think Mikel Arteta stole in that documentary, didn't he?
The energy.
Yeah, we always, Joe created this amazing piece of imagery, which is connecting the heart and the brain. The brain being engagement, heart being the happiness, to explain what the happiness index does, to bring the two worlds together. And if you look at the Mikel Arteta um, documentary, this guy here, unfortunately, is an Arsenal fan, which we'll talk about another day. But he draws up something that is very, very, looks like, was probably Joe's thing, but I don't think they
Yeah,
credit
we
you
ripped it
for it.
off.
He ripped
Guys,
us off.
no credit here. No credit.
Blooming Arsenal. But that reconnection again of business to emotions is part of our why. So firstly, just showing the world that happy employees isn't a fluffy thing. It is how you get better business results. But we need to do all the things. Like, Tony spent so long getting like the question set verified by academics. That just stuff that people wouldn't consider, that is happens behind the scenes, that to some people is really boring. But once you start doing all that stuff, it's got to make the world and work a better place, isn't it? But ultimately, that has to serve shareholders and investors as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just the hippies. And to be honest, I'd quite like to be a hippie, Jay. But we are a business, the Happiness Index, and we sell to businesses, so there has to be a commercial corporate element to it. So if we can connect those two bits up, so it's not an either or nor, and looking after your people is just seen as good business, and all this stuff starts getting taught in universities and schools and just becomes normal, that's our why.
Nice. And then the obvious next question: how? How to do?
So
There's a lot in the why.
there's a lot,
How?
there's a lot in the how, and as you know, I think maybe Joe put this in some of my 360 feedback. I'm not always thinking everything through before I come up with ideas of people. um, but the how is very complex because we are collecting data. So firstly is translations, really difficult. Need to do that to make it inclusive. It's not as simple as chucking it in Google Translate,
No.
which we would like. Words, meaning, everything needs to be thought through, considered. So translation is probably one of the bulkier bits, even though we could machine translate it. We can't just do that of what we're doing here. Distribution, getting the survey out there, that's a really difficult bit. We have an amazing partner called Pluxee. We've been working with them for years. They're a customer. They also resell our product all around the world. They're also an investor. They are distributing the survey through their Pluxee app. They have millions and millions of employees all around the world that they look after. That's one part of it. So they're one of our lead sponsors. Our other lead sponsor is Google. So we're going to present. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That's not something to just pass over.
Yeah, just allow Google. But we've been working with Google. I mean, myself, I've been working with Google for over probably 17 years now. So it comes back to relationships, and a lot of the technology we use to do data analysis and so on is Google Tech. So they are going to host it at their St Pancras office, St Pancras in London, in the UK. That allows us to seat 250 people. And because it's at Google, we can't actually charge for tickets, which normally covers the costs. Sponsors are going to cover the costs in this case, but it does mean tickets will be free. But that also means we've got to be quite selective with who we invite, just because not that we're trying to be exclusive, but for this bigger report and this bigger impact, we want the highest level decision makers there so that we can influence them, so they can go back to their organizations and make the difference. But all the reports, everything will be available online anyway, so it'll be inclusive to everyone. And as you know, we'll be doing events all around the country and all around the world, and podcasts and everything. So the information will be accessible. But without our partners, it wouldn't be possible. We're still speaking to some sponsors. We couldn't financially make it happen without sponsors. The sponsors are, the pitch to them is basically, do you want to be involved? And we need your money to make it happen.